Now that you are finished reading the book A Single Shard by Linda Sue Park, we are going to consider some of the relationships that you learned about in this book. The first thing we are going to do is we're going to use a little tool called Padlet. And I will give you a password to this Padlet, and you are going to contribute and post things to this Padlet as you think of them. So I will put the password to the Padlet where you can find it. When you get the password to this Padlet, you are going to contribute pieces of advice that Tree Ear was given by one of the other characters in the book. For example, you might think about the relationship between Tree Ear and Crane Man. And as Crane Man sort of helped raise Tree Ear, think of all the different pieces of advice that Crane Man gave Tree Ear. And you'll want to post a different little Padlet for every piece of advice that Crane Man gave to Tree Ear. You might also choose to think about the advice that Min, the potter, gave to Tree Ear. Certainly a different relationship. So pick one or the other, Crane Man or Min, and think about the advice that those two characters gave to Tree Ear throughout the book. So once you've posted as many pieces of advice as you can think of, we're going to take this information, and you and a partner, who I will assign for you, are going to use an add-on in a Google Doc called voice typing. And you're going to take a scenario, one of the pieces of advice that might have come from a conversation that Tree Ear would have had with Crane Man, or if you chose a piece of advice that Tree Ear had with Min, the potter, you're going to take this Google Doc, and you can see that I've titled it A Single Shard Convo, short for conversation. And I'm going to go up to the Tools menu and choose Voice Typing. And once voice typing is activated, you'll click to speak. You and your partner are going to have a conversation as if you are Crane Man giving advice to Tree Ear, or Min giving advice to Tree Ear, and you'll want to pick one of those. So you will click to speak, and you will take turns, and what you'll find about this little tool in Google Docs is that it will transcribe your conversation. You may have to play with it a little to get it to work smoothly for you, but I think if you'll speak clearly, you'll discover that it's fairly easy to use, and you can practice your conversation. Once that's done, I want you to take this same piece of writing, same piece of transcription that you've done, and I want you to use Google Translate on this particular piece of writing. This is another tool that might come in handy. It is a Chrome extension, so you will need to go to the web store and install it and have it on your toolbar. But once you have your conversation scripted out here, I want you to use Google Translate, and I want you to translate this conversation to Korean. And you may have some choices about dialects. I want you to see what this conversation would have looked like, or would look like, if it were translated to Korean. And I think you'll see some interesting things. At least you'll have some idea of what that language looks like, since we've spent so much time reading about this culture. So after you've used Google Translate, the next thing I want you to do is decide whether you would like to create an ebook or a comic strip. And here's a little bit, here's kind of what you're going to do. If you choose to create an ebook, we're going to use a Google slide presentation. And we are going to create an ebook. And you may want to make we're going to title this Single Shard, in keeping with the title we've had throughout. I'm going to make this just a blank slide. So I'm going to take these template pieces off here. And if you choose to make an ebook for this final product, I want you to choose 3 to 5 pieces of advice. And again, you're going to choose from Crane Man or from Min the Potter. Choose 3 to 5 pieces of advice that that character gave to Tree Ear, and I want you to put each piece of advice on a slide, and I want you to illustrate it. So you would end up with 3 to 5 slides. You can certainly provide an introductory slide, an ending slide. Make it a nice little sort of an ebook, maybe coffee table book with a piece of advice and an illustration. So that's one choice that you have for your final product. Another choice you have for a final product is going to use a Google drawing. So you'll go to your Google Drive and you'll choose to make a new Google drawing. And if you choose to do a comic strip, and I don't necessarily mean that it has to be funny, but a comic strip is an illustration of a conversation or an illustration of something that happens sort of in visual terms. So you're going to make your comic strip at least 6 frames. So you can see that I inserted a table, and now I have a space for 6 frames of the comic strip. And what I want you to use for your content for your Google drawing, if this is what you chose for your final product, I want you to use a conversation between either Crane Man and Tree Ear, or between Min and Tree Ear. And you can pick one. Choose one of the pieces of advice that you've been thinking about and talking about throughout this project, and I want you to illustrate the conversation between those 2 characters in this one comic strip. So there you have kind of a process. You have an overview taking you from the beginning thought process of the kinds of advice that these characters gave to this young person who is the main character of our book, and we're taking it all the way through to something that you might actually publish and share with someone. So do your best work, and I'll be around to help you work through it.